Hi, welcome to this week's Watch Party. Business has been tough. 2020 has seen most entrepreneurs either adapt, scale down, or even shut down operations. In a fast-changing world and an environment that calls for flexibility, how are enterprises on the continent surviving? What skills have been critical to growth? I'm George Mutero, and this week, the Watch Party is focusing on bridging the skill gap in social enterprises. And we will also learn on how to build next generation of African entrepreneurs. We will have young entrepreneurs from East Africa joining us, and our partner for this series is the USADF. We encourage you to engage with us on social media during the screening and panel discussion right after. Here on Facebook at yebo.live and at USADF also on Facebook. On Instagram is yebo.live and on Twitter is yebo_live. Feel free to share this stream with your friends and network. This week, we start in Nairobi, where a young entrepreneur has waded the murky waters of uncertainty to keep her business afloat and keep her business going. Enjoy the next series of clips here on the Yebo Watch Party. See you soon.
My name is Nasreen Ali and I'm the founder and CEO of Africapo Limited. I grew up in Mombasa, a very small town on the coast of Kenya, and witnessing my mother's struggles during my formative years made me empathize with women and girls with a vision to start and run their own businesses. In 2018, during a market needs analysis, where I was very curious to understand what's keeping many female-owned businesses from reaching their full potential, I learned that it boils down to three things: lack of capital, limited access to knowledge and guidance on how to start and run a business, and limited access to markets for their products. And that is how Africapo was born, as an extension of the micro-lending business, but now to support the women that we're already serving to find markets for the products that they had. The grants really couldn't have come at a better time because it turbocharged our bottom line and pushed us to actually get started on our activities, including developing our training curriculums, reaching out to the target beneficiaries, and putting together a team to develop our digital platform, which is a very core component of the business. So our beneficiaries are mainly women and girls and the youth in informal sectors in Kenya, particularly Mathare, Kibera, Kawangware, Mukuru, and in very remote areas. So we're looking at typically a woman between the age of 18 to up to 65. These are mainly tailors, weavers, soapstone makers, leather product makers, etc. One of the main milestones for the grant was to train 200 women in Mombasa and Nairobi and get them to start showcasing their products on our digital platform. We managed to complete developing our e-commerce platform under the grant, and now the 200 women have their products showcased there.
Imagine sahi au wamama wanaweza sona manguo zao na sahi wanachukua pesa yao kupitia mafunzo kutoka kwa Afrika.
Tulikuja tukafundishwa na mwalimu wetu kushona max. Tukashona na tumeona msaada wa hiyo max. Hatujawahi kaa bila kushona. Hii kushona max inanisaidia kwa jinsi siwezi kakosa pesa yangu kwa mfuko. Siwezi kaenda kuomba kwa mtu.
We're already seeing the impact of our work within the communities that we work with. New jobs are being created. The artisans we're working with are already recruiting other people to help them in their businesses. Their kids are going to school.
Unajua wakati nilikuwa nikifanya kazi yangu peke yangu, kulikuwa na ugumu kabisa juu saa zingine inafika wakati huwezi weka chakula juu ya meza kuanzia asubuhi hadi jioni. Lakini tangu nipatane na Africa kuna big change, kwa sababu wakati wowote nimefanya kazi nimejua nitalipwa. Hata na wale wa mama ninao hapa wote nimejua hakuna mwenye anaweza sema anapitia ugumu yale alikuwa nayo mbeleni.
Nafurahia sana kama mimi Mkenya, mtu wa Kenya huku chini kushona kitu ile inaenda nje. At least nafurahia.
Currently our main export markets are United States, Canada, the UK, France, Germany, Belgium, and we have stockists in each of these areas. We do also supply products like face masks to NGOs in South Sudan who then distribute them to vulnerable communities. I'm really inspired when I see these artisans doing great things with the little resources that we offer them. Yet they had previously been excluded. It's very fulfilling, and I think some of, just helping be a part of something that's bigger than myself has created some of the greatest personal wins in my own life. I'm very, very thankful to USADF and City Foundation to support me with the grant, especially at the stage that it was much needed, and help me turn this dream into a reality.
My name is Dizando Norton. I'm from Angola. I'm a computer science professor and researcher, and I'm the founder of ULab. I applied for the entrepreneurship grant because I had this business idea on my mind for almost 3 years, and I wanted the money to really make that vision come true. ULab is a continuous education center that provides practical training in computer science topics and technology entrepreneurship to computer science students. Our vision is to build the next generation of computer science professionals and technology entrepreneurs in Angola.
My name is Mshila Sio. I grew up in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm the founder of Agua Kenya, which is an innovative wastewater and water purification company. So we use ecological methods to purify water, which is it's a big challenge in Africa. About 90% of the wastewater goes back into the environment untreated. Treating water and piping it to rural areas is just not an option. So we provide solutions to these challenges. Our vision is to supply water to people in all regions of Africa, and also to allow municipalities to be able to treat their water in a profitable and affordable way.
I'm Kumusa Tavani, and I'm from Johannesburg in South Africa. I applied for the entrepreneurship grant because I've got over 7 years experience in marketing as well as business development for multinational corporations. And I found that many young entrepreneurs, especially in the creative sectors, don't know how to commercialize their ideas. My business is focused on working with young entrepreneurs in the creative sector, such as fashion, music, media and production. And I work with them to give them business skills training. Being given an opportunity like this to really step out and start my entrepreneurial venture is something that is very transformative in my life, and I think it's an opportunity that in years to come I'll look back on and see this as the starting point of really great things to come.
Anambra State has a population of about 5.2 million people according to population census, electricity and lack of access to finance. These are the basic problems we have. My name is Nonso Kafo. I'm from Anambra State, Nigeria. I run a company called Mega Yield Associates, which aims to reduce the high level of garbage in Anambra State by recycling the plastic to produce household items.
Hi, my name is Mtuangoma from Zambia. I run a business called Tapera Industries Limited in Zambia. It's a renewable energy company that produces biodiesel fuel. Well, the business has existed for over 5 years now, and we have been focusing on the biofuel, the biodiesel part of the business. The biggest challenge my company faces is the high cost of raw materials, and with the USADF grant, we hope to expand our range of products to include biocoal from agricultural waste. If I took President Obama to my country, we'd go bungee jumping.
Hello, my name is Rajani Jare. I'm from Ghana. I run a social enterprise called Strunko Foundation, where we reach out to young disadvantaged girls and teach them how to code, how to create websites, mobile applications, which allow them to economically empower themselves and shape the future of tomorrow through technology. With the USADF grants, we're hoping to expand our program and our footprints, first in Ghana and to other African countries. We're setting up Tech Needs Girls mentor clubs in the universities so that women that are studying STEM in universities can reach out to our mentees, which is the young girls that we teach how to code. We're going to start with 5 regions and hopefully expand to other African countries like Nigeria. Hopefully we'll bring great solutions that will be championed by young girls.
My name is Wesley Oiti. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cherehani Africa. Cherehani is a financial institution where we provide financial literacy content and credit to women micro-entrepreneurs in rural areas. So with our platform, we leverage mobile technology to be able to provide these services to our customers. So Cherehani Africa started by providing productive assets like sewing machines, which their customers would use to make money and grow their businesses. And right now we have diversified to even include loans, financial loans to their businesses. And we provide them with this financial literacy content so that they're able to make the right financial decisions for their businesses and grow these businesses.
Cherehani amenisaidia sana sababu sikukuwa na cherehani. Tulikuwa tunasoma na huyu mama. Mara ya kwanza walikuja, walinipea loan. Nini pesa tukaleta materials. Tangu nijue cherehani, sasa niko na machine.
In 2015, Cherehani Africa was lucky to be part of the Mandela Washington Fellowship, where we had a training at the University of Wisconsin for a number of months. And then we applied for a grant from USADF and were able to get it. At that particular time, we were only in Sia County and with a few hundred customers. And with the grant, we're able to buy more sewing machines, the productive assets, to expand our portfolio at that particular time and to even grow to 2 counties. We're able to move from Sia to Kisumu. And Cherehani was lucky to get again a follow-on grant from USADF, which now helped us to digitize our operations. You remember, without digitizing our operations, we'd not be able to scale. So what we did is we built our proprietary CRM system, a customer relationship management tool, which now helps us manage each and every individual's account. So we're able to disburse and see how the repayment is done. And with this platform, we're able to even expand to the entire country. Our financial literacy training is split into 2 parts. So number 1, we have field officers who go to the field to physically train these women. So these women are arranged into chamas and groups. So when they're having these meetings every 2 weeks or every week, it depends on their arrangement, our field officers are able to visit them during the group meetings and provide training to them on financial literacy. Our curriculum talks about savings, we talk about credit, we talk about expanding a business, we talk about like diversification, all this important information that the women need to grow their businesses. Number 2, we have our digital platform. It's called the Imarika platform. So this platform, we are able to gather all the financial literacy content that we need, and we've arranged it in a particular way that helps somebody grow. Since from the start when you're onboarded, we're able to disburse the right information to you as you grow your business. And this information is actually written in Kiswahili, which is the local language that most of our customers understand. So we're able to disburse this information through SMS to their phones. So all our customers are able to receive this training. They're able to understanding. If they have any question, we have a free line which they can always call to get the right information and all clarification.
Watu wa kijiji yetu saa zingine walikuwa wanakuja kwangu niwasaidie na pesa. Sasa saa hii vile cherehani walikuja, sasa ni rahisi, unaweza kopa kwa cherehani na unarudisha. Unaweza lipa kila siku, kila mwezi, kila wiki. Vinaingia kwa simu, tunatoa, tunachukua vitu tunauza.
Vile walinipea hiyo loan, nikaendelea nayo kuboost nayo cherehani na material, na tena nikaendelea kuleta vitu zingine isipokuwa ni cherehani peke yake.
Tangu nipate cherehani imenisaidia sana, sababu napata chakula changu kwa nyumba, nalipa loan yangu, naweza lipia watoto wangu shule, school fees.
Our customers know that we are not just here to give them money and get out. They know that we care about them. They know that we care about their families. We care about how they're doing, their general well-being. So by providing financial literacy and having our field officers go to the market and meet them during these meetings, we kind of ensure that we have this partnership with them where they trust in our financial products. So looking back, I think that was a very good strategy, which I think I would encourage to other businesses. It's very important to be genuinely concerned about the well-being of your customers. So right now, with even numbers stretching, with more than 13,000 customers served, and even as we continue growing to even more numbers, these are things that we've retained in our pillars. We really care about our customers' well-being, and we care about them.
This work, fortunately, since 2016, has been supported in a partnership with City Foundation, and that partnership has led to City contributing over $1 million, and through that we have been able to fund 4 business plan competitions. The youth are the future of any nation. Investing in the youth at an early stage, as early as possible, makes all the sense, and especially when we know not only are they our future, but they have great ideas, enthusiasm, energy, and they want the support that USADF can provide.
What's happening in the economy? You're talking about economic development, and you're thinking about the youth. Are they getting jobs? If they're not getting jobs, how can you empower them to start their own businesses? Which is why this program is great that it focuses on that.
My name is Wesley Oiti. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cherehani Africa, which is an institution that provides financial literacy content and lending to women micro-entrepreneurs. We didn't have much in our portfolio, and we received a grant to grow the portfolio, reach more customers, and even provide more sewing machines to some of the customers that we had that needed sewing machine.
So we are proud to partner with USADF to invest in this program and as part of our Pathways to Progress commitment.
You can find these videos with the link that will be shared in the comment section. Please remember, as mentioned as we began the show, we would be very happy if you would shoot some questions to the panel. Our panel will be ready to answer some questions. So as you engage with us on social media, please feel free to also shoot questions as the panel discussion continues. Today on the panel, I'm joined by Nazreen Ali Mohammed, who is the co-founder of two social enterprises serving rural women and youth micro-entrepreneurs in Kenya. Nazreen's passion is with the vulnerable groups that she works with. Over the past 6 years, she has built up considerable experiences in social entrepreneurship, linking her business strategies and technologies to the Sustainable Development Goals. Also, we have Wesley Owiti, who is the CEO and co-founder of Cherehani Africa, a social enterprise that leverages mobile-based technology to provide credit and distribute personalized financial literacy content to women micro-entrepreneurs in rural areas that he operates in. He is currently operating in 5 counties in Kenya. Wesley has been designing innovative financial products and services for over 6 years. Next, we also have Ahmed Bashe, who is currently the Deputy Director of the Institute of Practical Research and Training, and also serves as the Vice President of Abarso Tech University in Somalia. Ahmed is deeply versed on structural challenges that are faced by academic and institutional centers in Somaliland, and has spent over 12 years in the non-profit sector trying to make a difference by working with local community and youth organizations. Also, we are joined by Kwasi Donkor, who is the Chief Strategy Officer at the USADF. In his role, Kwasi is responsible for driving efforts to incorporate digitization of innovative finance across USADF's country programs and strategic focus areas like energy, entrepreneurship, and agriculture. Kwasi brings a wealth of knowledge gained over 20 years working in private and non-profit and government areas to address wide range of enterprise development and socially responsible investment issues. And last but not least, we are joined by Jeffrey Gilio, the Regional Portfolio Manager for East Africa and Southern Africa. As a champion of the bottom-up approach in development, Jeff has been working to support the leadership of African organizations and community in agricultural and community development initiatives. He has a passion for community-led development and enterprise expansion. Welcome to the show, gentlemen and lady. Allow me to start with you, Jeffrey. East Africa is one of the areas USADF has intervened for decades. Kindly take us through how USADF has created job opportunities within the East African region.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to my virtual office and home. So I hope everybody's doing well. So yes, USADF, for many of you, you may already know, has been working in Africa for 4 decades now, 40 years. So we believe in many different things, but the most important thing is providing capital and income to enterprises and individuals so that they then can create their own wealth and opportunities. Training is just one piece of a puzzle to create income, but in order for individuals and businesses to be better off than when they are found, they need to receive capital to start their businesses. Capital is a key to unlocking opportunities. And so USADF, through providing capital, as you've seen in some of the videos that were on air before this panel, that we provide some small capital to entrepreneurs, and then they go and take it off and bring it to the next level. It's up to them. We have full trust and faith that individuals, and especially Africans, can lead their own development and can really take their businesses to the next level. And really all they need is capital. So that capital is the key. Training is one piece, but capital is the most important piece, because without that capital, you can't really do much. And when you receive that capital, then you're able to employ people. You're able to provide assistance to others. You're able to create income and wealth. So other than that, that's really the most important thing, in my opinion, is the capital injection.
Interesting. And we'll dive into the capital dynamics and the injection as the discussion goes on. But allow me to go over to Kwesi. USADF's work around Africa has majorly revolved around ensuring that there is support in businesses, especially social enterprises, be it cooperatives, students of different programs, or even individuals with initiatives that add value to the community. What is the motivation behind empowering businesses, especially from where you sit as the Chief Strategy Officer of the USADF?
Thank you very much for that, George, and greetings to you all. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're listening from. So maybe a way to start is to talk about where USADF is coming from with all of this. So USADF is determined to invest in the future of Africa by focusing on population segments that demonstrate promise, but have been previously marginalized. So we do this by supporting and empowering innovative programs across the in entrepreneurship and job training, job placement, and in a way to identify Africa's most capable and passionate and motivated cohort, really the youth, to help create a better tomorrow. And the videos sort of provide evidence for this. And if you joined us during our recently ended Fund Africa Summit, you probably heard our board chairman, Jack Leslie, say that USADF was created to do development differently. And doing this by utilizing a sort of a community-led development approach and a Pan-African network of local implementing partners to support African designed and delivered solutions. This idea of agency and giving folks a way for them to drive their own goal, their own success, right? And to add to Jeff's point, I want to add a little bit more context to that by saying that we do that by leveraging, capital, technical assistance, and our convening power to drive that impact. So Fund Africa itself is an example of how we use that convening power through conferences and meetings to connect and build our networks. But the reason why entrepreneurship is so important to us is that entrepreneurship across Africa is sort of a lonely endeavor, right? And so we are able to use one of these tools in our toolkit, our convening power, to bring African entrepreneurs, the future leaders of the continent, in a way that we create an environment of cross-learning and peer mentorship. And ultimately, our point of arrival across the entrepreneurship portfolio, across social enterprises, corporate students, whatever whatever. It's really about looking to find a way for USADF to develop scalable models that support these local enterprises, with market-driven tools that allow them to grow and remain resilient, especially in the current environment that we are in the middle of a once-in-a-century pandemic. And so it's the ability to allow them to be resilient, to be able to manage, and be able to embrace these crucial pivot points, whether it's entering a new market, expanding a business, or taking steps to raise funding beyond USADF. That's sort of the ethos of how we look at how we support social enterprises across the continent.
And we'll be coming back, especially to touch base on the scalable models and especially post-USADF support. But allow me to go to Ahmed. Mr. Bashe, as one of the partners who work closely with the USADF, what stood out in your interaction with the agency, especially in your home country, Somalia and Somaliland?
Thank you, George. I'm glad to be here. Well, I'm surprised when Jeffrey said USAID has been here 40 years. It's like, I know we've been working with them for the past 8 years, and it feels like that was one of the first time that I heard of USADF. But I'm glad to know it has a long history in Africa. But for this region, I mean, since 2012, IPRT has been working with USADF, especially with the component of skills training. There is also an entrepreneurship aspect to that. And what really strikes me with our relationship with USADF is that all this time in these past 8 years, one thing I've noticed is that you would assume USADF being a government institution would be very inflexible, but I actually find that not to be the case. They are very dynamic. For example, in terms of the youth, the skills creation, they're very bottom to top approach, right? They allow us to suggest what areas we think really work best in the country itself. And I think that's a fundamental reason why they're successful. There are a lot of NGOs and other institutions that try to come up with schemes, if I can say, that try to build up employment. But I think the number of trainees that have successfully started businesses by through USAIDF funding, I think is one of the highest in this region. And I can back that up with IPRT's numbers. So that is pretty much what I would like to say is the main thing that I really feel is special about our relationship is that it's being dynamic. They really know how to allow the grantees themselves to come up with the ideas of what really works in their own country.
That is good, and we'll be coming back at least for examples on the kind of suggestions that you put forward to USADF in your engagement and interaction and how that worked out. But we saw two videos back, not necessarily back to back, but two videos that featured Kenyan entrepreneurs. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome them to our discussion, and I'll start with you, Nazreen. As we've seen in the video, your project has taken off in partnership with the USADF agency. As you take your brand globally, are there any key lessons or skills that you received in addition to the funding that you got?
Okay, great. Thank you for this opportunity. And yeah, I mean, in a very short time, AfriCapo has grown from just an exciting pilot project to a viable business, connecting artisans in informal and rural sectors directly to consumers globally, currently to over 10 countries. And like a lot of startups, the first 2 years of operation, there's always so much to do, so little time, and just not enough money to do all these things. But yet these again are the most critical years of a business and determine whether the foundation you're setting will stand for years and withstand extreme conditions, or will collapse at the first shake it experiences. And this is where, for me, USADF came in when we were still in our idea stage and trying to put things together. And they walked with us and they held our hand to enable us build that strong foundation. So personally, I feel for AfriCapo, our major win was not even the funding, but really just the fact that they held our hands all the way and worked with us as we, worked to achieve our goals and our ambitious milestones that we'd set for the business. So they were there to offer us kind of guidance and connect us with a large network of expert communities, which included professional experts, fellow entrepreneurs, and other brands that were doing very similar projects to what we were doing. And that really, helped us not waste time to make mistakes that had already been made. And just seeing a big organization like that select me to work with and, just have the confidence and believe in our vision, I think for me, helped me gain that sense of responsibility and accountability. And I felt, okay, I need to deliver, because for them to believe in me, for them to understand my vision clearly means I'm headed in the right direction. So secondly, also having the partners, the local partners on the ground has been very insightful, because I feel they really understand the markets that we're working with, and they do understand the challenges on the ground, which makes it very easy for them to offer us support and guidance that's very relevant to our businesses. So yeah, I mean, more than just the grants, I think it's these opportunities, the follow-on programs, and all these opportunities for personal and professional development that they've offered us through other training programs as well, including the Yes Africa Summit and the most recently held Fund Africa that was held barely a month ago.
Correct. And again, we'll be coming back to you, but you've mentioned something important about ambitious milestones. I would be interested to learn from Wesley. Wesley, how has your ambitious milestones that you set in your business, how has the help of USADF helped you, and what skills have you received more than the funding that you got? Wesley? You're on mute. Wesley, are you there? All right. As we wait for Wesley to get back, probably I'll just get back to you, Jeffrey. Earlier you talked about the provision of capital, and how you make sure that you've injected capital in businesses. Do you do this as a one-fold endeavor, or do you give it in packages as you track milestones, or how does this arrangement work with social enterprises in Africa?
Sure, that's a good question. USADF, as everybody has sort of alluded to, is slightly different than other organizations. Other organizations may provide you the capital, but not provide you the technical assistance, or provide you the idea that sort of comes from a boardroom somewhere, and they decide that that's the best way to attack job creation or unemployment or production. And so USADF, we very much believe that the entities and the individuals themselves have the solutions. I mean, I'm a firm believer that all Africans know the problems they face themselves, and they know how to create solutions to address those problems. There's nothing that I myself, in Washington, D.C., can tell them that they don't already know. I can just help facilitate for them. So essentially, the money, if you will, to be blunt, is split up into a few different milestones that we call them, or tranches for those in West Africa. And so essentially, it'll be attached to a deliverable. So we'll give you a little bit of money in the beginning to help start your activity, and maybe it's attached to you getting registered if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not already registered, or it's attached to you securing your first sort of production line piece of equipment, or identifying where you're going to source items from. And then after you do that, we can give you another tranche of money. And then so you basically, but you do have to report on what the first funds were received and how they were spent, and so that we can track the funding, because we do care about each dollar, honestly, and making sure that it's going to what was planned, and so that we're not just giving money away and hoping for the best, because we really want to see that money be catalytic. We want to see it make change. And in order to do that, we do have to follow up, and we do have to check in with entities and organizations. I always like to say we are firm believers in trust, but we also need to verify. We just need to verify that everything is being done according to your project plan, not only for the US government and Congress, but also for yourself. If this is your goal, this could be your one shot at getting such capital. So let's make sure you really multiply it, you double it, you make the best use of it possible, so that you can go ahead and leverage it to get something else later. You can say, hey, I received this money, I increased my sales or increased my production. Now let me go to a bank or another lender or somebody else, maybe even a buyer and say, you need to work with me now. Look what I'm able to do. Like the items that we saw that Nazarene video showed. I mean, I had seen some of them a long time ago, but I hadn't actually watched that video before, this panel. And I already now have lots of ideas in terms of what I want to get all the different women in my life for Mother's Day and my mom's birthday and, my wife. And so I mean, they were beautiful. And, just the fact that, just a little bit of money and the technical assistance and the support she feels that she had, sure, we helped give her this confidence, but she already had it. And she just needed somebody to say, hey, we believe in you, go and do it. You make your own path, lead your own destiny, and create your own future. So that's what we're all about. And I'll forever believe in that mission.
I'm sure all the women in your life right now are making shopping lists.
Yeah. You better get me that for Christmas.
No, I want to keep it a surprise, but yeah.
I hope they're not watching this.
Yeah, they might. They probably, one of them will, but yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I see Wesley's back. Wesley, Nazreen earlier was talking about how partnering with USADF helped in ensuring that she reached the ambitious milestones that she had set. In your case at Cherehani Africa, you have a very dynamic sort of enterprise that is not just working with rural women, but it's also working with tech and offering financial literacy content. How is all this playing in terms of the kind of assistance in skills that you received from USADF in addition to the funding that you got?
Yeah, okay. I'm very sorry for that slight disconnection. So George, thank you so much also for allowing us to be here and just share our story. Probably will inspire a few people. I think for Cherehani, the way we started, my co-founders, actually Nazreen is one of my co-founders and Robert. If you look at our background, we come from very humble backgrounds. And if you look at banks or financial institutions, these are things that are started by rich people, rich families and all this and stuff. So when you have these kids from some poor background come and tell you that they want to start a bank and lend to women, you have to be a little bit crazy to trust them also to do this. And that's how crazy USADF was. They trusted us when we started out with sewing machines. And not just that, but they were able to work with us. I can tell you, before COVID, USADF has taken me around the world, around Africa, just to learn more, to arm me with the right skills, the right information, such that just by traveling, meeting new people, new entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs, looking at how people are doing things differently. I think my team, myself and my team, we are better skilled to tackle the issues that come with something like providing lending to these customers or the women micro entrepreneurs. So if I look at it like the collaboration that we've gotten just through USADF and the angle which Nazreen talked about, them being a partner who holds your hand has been very important to help us even scale. I mean, when we started, we had a few people, like 100 customers. We'd give them money, like cash, give them cash, and then they pay back and take to the next person and stuff. You can imagine this. And from where we started, and it's just about 6 years, right now we built up an entire CRM, and it's basically like a banking management tool that provides these women with their balance. If you pay via mobile money, you get your instant balance and it tells you how it's going, and you're able to receive financial literacy content on how to grow your business and stuff like that. I think it's been awesome. And it's been important to have a partner who believes in wild dreams, who believes in us and who supports us in grow our businesses. And what inspires me more is just being able to look at the other businesses that are now within our network, the other businesses that USADF has funded. I think like in Gilgil, we have Kevin, who has built an entire factory that recycles waste material or plastic to build roofing tiles and stuff. If you go to Tanzania, people who are recycling, who are using avocado oil to make oil and just supply it around and stuff. It's really inspiring. Entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey, and at times it's just crazy. But if you are in a network of people who are doing it and also having these same problems and stuff, it kind of gets a little bit more exciting, and you look forward to the next day. And these are some of the things that USADF has provided us with.
One thing I'm very we'll come back to you, especially because I'm sure you have like very many anecdotes on your journey. But one thing you mentioned is that you got the opportunity to travel around the world and learn. Kwasi, I think I also want to travel around the world and learn. So I don't know why I dropped my application. I will be happy to drop an application to the USADF and say, hey, at least I need a 6-month sabbatical from my day job to just travel around the world and learn.
Well, you would have to disclose your age, George, so I'm not sure if you're willing to do that.
But Kwasi, earlier when we were talking to Jeffrey, he mentioned something that aligned with something that you mentioned earlier. So you were talking about post-USADF funding for businesses and making sure that they are able to stand on their own 2 feet. And then Jeffrey mentioned that as ADF, you are keen in making sure that every dollar is taken care of and you maximize the use of the seed funding that you give to organizations. How does this relate to sustainability of the enterprises that USADF funds?
So I think that, first and foremost, USADF is a grant-making institution, and we have program teams across the continent and in DC dedicated to project design, like what Jeff just discussed. And in sort of USADF's funding continuum, there are a number of things that we look at, right? So it's the objective really is to leverage capital to fund innovative and transformational ventures that are solving challenges in local communities, and we use a number of tactics, right? So it's how we use grants as a means to de-risk and identify potential scalable ventures, right? How we select the criteria to make sure that we're partnering strategically with folks, and we identify the number of different pipelines. So whether it's YALI, whether it's AW, whether it's Ashoka, we have a number of accelerators. And also one of the things that we're also trying to do is to think through very strategically what happens once a grant is closed, once that has occurred, right? All grants are going to be evaluated based on and graded based on a set of criteria relating to growth potential, market size, and scalability, and more importantly, future proofing, right? So this idea of looking at what Jeff talked about, the utility of capital for productive use, to the extent that we're able to say that some of that can be recovered, that's something that we're very interested in doing, right? But it's really about resilience, right? So this idea about inputting recoverability of funds at this point in sort of the continuum means that capital is rotating, and funds will always be needed to bring on more grantees. So there's an intentional look at how we introduce recoverability in our grant portfolio. So we have 3 tools, right? So we have capital, we have the technical assistance, and we have this sort of convening power. So when we think about capital, really it's starting from, think about it in terms of a continuum: grant funding, incubation, acceleration, sort of the proof of concept. And then at some point, what happens is that we sort of move into this idea of recoverability. And then more importantly, like every organization, every school that you go to, right? Once you come into an organization, we want to make sure that our grantees are resilient post USADF intervention. And to make sure that they are doing so, we want to make sure that we are connecting them, whether it's on platforms like Fund Africa, whether it's partnering events, whether it's sponsoring them, whether it's ensuring that they have visibility and to other entities that are going to be able to support and strategically partner with them. Because what we have done is essentially de-risked them as an investment opportunity for others. But it's all anchored in sort of a sustainability play around making sure that our resources, that we are able to connect our resources and invest these resources into entities that then allow these entities to be attractive, like Nazreen, like Wesley, to make sure that they are attractive to follow on funding, because that's really what it's about, right? Every time like I said, every time you go into you go into a college, you want to make sure that those graduates are then attractive to employees, and this is similar to how we think about what follow-on funding should look like and why our grantees should be attractive, and which is exactly why we ensure that we attach our capital to curriculum, because the utility of that capital significantly increases once you bring in that technical assistance and ensuring that they are well placed for the future.
Sorry. And we'll come back especially to where you talk about the curriculum students and the technical assistance, because this is more than just USADF just funds enterprises. You are also helping in the skills and knowledge areas of ensuring that there's enough know-how on how to operate business and enough skills that are able to operate these businesses. But let me speak with Jeffrey a bit. Your success stories in Africa have been heavily dependent on the results of your program. Can you take us through the trainings and placements that you've done in the last few years and the kind of results that these trainings and placements have yielded?
Sure. I mean, Ahmed can probably definitely add to whatever I'm going to say, because he is, a leader on the ground at IPRT who has actually really led the way with a lot of our Somalia programs. I mean, his, I guess I don't want to call Dr. Essa your boss, but your elder, Ahmed, he basically helped us design the program in Somalia. And so the whole program was designed to provide training, but then to link people to jobs, because that has been the key that has been missing in the international community. Everybody wants to provide training. That's great. I mean, you could go anywhere in the world and people are not going to turn down free training necessarily. But if you don't then provide them the next tool, then it's just, okay, I learned something new, but how will I ever apply it, right? And so that next tool comes in various different formats. It could be cash to help start your own business. It could be tools to help you act, like physical tools to help you be able to, utilize what knowledge you received, or it could be actually linking and connecting to jobs. So in practice, the way that we're operating in both Nigeria, coast to coast, Nigeria, Lagos State, all the way to Somalia, we are doing the same underlining principles, which is working with implementing partners on the ground that are identifying needs that are somewhere in the market. And then they are working with vocational training centers to be able to recruit and find individuals who are either unemployed or underemployed. Maybe they have some of these skills and knowledges already, and they just need to sort of get a new certificate or get back in the space, or they don't have any. So there's different tiers depending on the sector that we're looking to train. And then at the same time, they're simultaneously identifying the employer and creating a relationship with the employer and bringing them into the training picture and the selection of the trainees in the beginning. So the idea is that the trainee will have a understanding who the employer is, and the employer will be able to witness all of the trainees in action. So they'll be able to pick and choose who they want when the program is expired, right? When it comes to a conclusion. Then in Somalia, for instance, we've developed this model where we help subsidize the employer's first month or 2 months or 3 months, depending on the sector, for employing the people that came out of the training, the graduates. And the logic and the idea behind this is the employer will identify who they want to hire. They'll see them through the process. They'll build some sort of relationship and trust with them. Then they come on board. They're working for this, construction company or what have you. And then they'll realize, okay, this person is trustworthy. After the period of, us, USADF, helping subsidize that individual's income, then they'll say, well, it's not worth it for me to try to go find somebody else. I already know that this individual, George, is reliable. He comes to work every day. He works hard. I can trust him. So I'm just going to keep him on. And so we have found that that is actually really effective in terms of making sure that people retain employment after the program. But I'm sure Ahmed has very specific examples as well that could add on to that in terms of the real practical going on in Somalia.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I mean, just to jump on that, George, a little bit, and just to be sure, everybody has a stake in it, right? From us as the implementing partner. I mean, when we are linking the trainee to the employer is guaranteeing that, okay, if this person works out, perfect, I needed him and I will take him on, and he has a job security, right? And the trainee is guaranteed a job. So it's not just a internship, it's actually a commitment. If you actually perform to expected standards, you'll get a job. And us as an implementing partner, we have, like, USADF has a standard where we have to get like 85% of the trainees. So we can't just say we're training 100 or 200 people, and then in the end of whatever the period is, that we only managed to find a job for them 50%. That's not good enough for us. So we've been looking at making sure that it's a right fit for all of us. And it's challenging at times, but again, maybe a little later, specific examples of where it actually succeeded beyond expectations.
And I want to assume that the same has been witnessed by Nazreen and Wesley, in terms of basically they're not the only ones working on their enterprises. They have people who work with them in their enterprises to make sure that the product that they churn out is quality. When it comes to ensuring that there is enough knowledge on, working, either directly or indirectly, what Ahmed and Jeffrey are sharing, have you witnessed this in the way you operate your small enterprises? Wesley and Nazreen.
Nazreen, go first.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been such an important part of our onboarding process, because at the end of the day, our goal is to, increase opportunities for the artisans and the entire communities. So we're looking at creating an enabling environment. Now, when you look at our onboarding process, it is pretty vigorous. It's mainly to avoid what Ahmed was talking about, that I don't want to invest resources to train 1,000 artisans and only have 100 of them provide me with quality products to find markets for. And so when we look at, when we're considering the onboarding process, we don't only look at things like, okay, what are your skills? What are, your experiences? One core thing that we look at as well is what their future goals are. Because as part of the sales, we are offering them a partner loyalty program, where for every product that we sell, they earn points for it, and for every good reviews, they get double points for that. And they're able to redeem that in cash after about 12 months. So that's really just to kind of make sure they stick to the quality standards and they take the training seriously. And after that, the entire process is more sustainable, because there's so much that goes into it. The artisans don't pay for the training. So you can imagine the amount of resources that go into that. So we're looking at recovering that from the sale of their products. So this has to be a long-term relationship for us.
Wesley?
Yeah, I think training is an important aspect in my sector, the financial sector. I mean, if you give a business any amount of money, yet they're not going to use it the right way, actually you're killing that business. So if you probably give them too much money that they don't need, and now they can't repay it, and or you be giving them money and they try to expand too quick, and then it all falls down and stuff. So training has been very important because all our customers are micro entrepreneurs. These are people who wake up in the morning, go to the market to work. There's no one who needs more financial training like an entrepreneur, especially a micro entrepreneur in the rural areas. Why should you? Why is it wrong to give everyone debt? I mean, you're giving them money, then they'll pay you later. Within no time, you don't have any capital to run your business. And if you're talking to customers and giving them things for free and stuff, you don't know how to run the business will actually fall down within a short period of time. So these are conversations that we found that were very important to have with our customers so that they succeed in their businesses. And for Cherehani Africa, when our customers succeed, they're able to come back for bigger loans and better loans. And essentially, they become better customers. Better customers mean people who pay their loans well, people who grow their businesses the way we want them to grow these businesses. Because in essence, it now opens even more opportunities for Cherehani Africa. It means now we can provide you with a smartphone loan. We can provide you with probably school fees loan in the future. We can provide you with different financial products that will be able to grow you as an entrepreneur and also take your household to the next level. Remember, our vision basically is to build thriving communities, and what better way to go to achieve that than through the women? And the best approach is to train them and have them ready to use these resources to grow their businesses.
Good. I'll just jump quickly on Facebook to see if there are any questions. And we keep encouraging everyone who is on Facebook to post their questions related to business, related to how USADF is supporting small businesses. But let me just check. There's one here saying, I'm enjoying this. Every young African entrepreneur should actually be here. When you empower women, everyone gets food on their table. Another comment is there. There are a lot of potentials in African youth, great minds doing wonderful things. There is a question here.
I was just hoping it will be all praise. But there is
Sorry, it's not all praise. I think there's United States Development Foundation model is really interesting. I just seen a question. I just need to get to it. What USADF is doing will be much more impactful if they collaborate with national governments to help empower the youth in society. Kwasi, do you work with national governments?
Yes, we do actually. I think that this idea of the youth being sort of the youth bulge and how to address that youth bulge. So there are a number of what we call the strategic partnerships that we work through with a number of different governments, whether it's in Senegal and a number of other countries that help us address this, right? So to the extent that we go into a strategic partnership and say we bring X number of dollars, the government then brings X number of dollars to address this youth bulge is something that we are fundamentally interested in, because what it also allows us to do is to lever up, allow our own funding to be catalytic and to move further.
Okay. Allow me to still stick with you, Kwasi. One of USADF's success points is the entrepreneurship empowerment around Africa, and you do this through the Young African Leadership Initiative. Earlier, we were talking about students, curriculum, technical assistance that you were touching on. Please take us through. You said YALI is turning 10 years this year. Take us through the 10-year journey between USADF and YALI and the successes that you have been able to witness through the training program.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, George. So perhaps it's useful to talk about the YALI program and its sort of its evolution, vis-a-vis other polls where we source other entrepreneurs, like the Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, AWE, which is also another group of we focus on as we make intentional efforts to ensure women are part of our growth story, which is in response to the comment about women being having to be part of this narrative. I think that's something that resonates with us here at USADF tremendously. So with YALI, the Young African Leaders Initiative is a presidential initiative, and it's made up of three types of future African leader, right? So there are those in civil service across Africa. The idea is for them to learn skills to be better government sector employees. Then there are those from civil society, and these are folks from the NGO world who improve their understanding of advocacy and how to deploy those skills. And then there are those in business entrepreneurship. This group here is faced with issues around the need for financing, technical assistance, and access to markets. And Nasreen and Wesley have spoken to that. YALI afforded all these groups experiential learning opportunities, including coming to Washington, D.C. to learn how to face some of these challenges head on. Yet many of them, especially in the last group, the business people, the entrepreneurs, left DC without resources, simply money, right? As we all know, money talks, right? And this is how USADF sort of entered the conversation. USADF began its involvement in YALI in 2014, and from the videos that you saw, kicked off the growth of what is now USADF's entrepreneurship portfolio. USADF has been committed to providing the African entrepreneur with the tools needed to invest in their communities and growing Africa's next generation of business leader and social enterprises. The idea here is it's a groundswell. These business leaders will then employ, marginalized folks, some of the women that we saw in those videos who are using the sewing machines, train youth, impact communities, and create and expand markets by providing goods and services. Some of these things that Jeffrey wants to buy his family, right? But since its inception, and I think this is something that Ahmed can testify to, USADF has funded over 250 entrepreneurs across 37 countries, providing more than $5 million in seed capital. Additionally, USADF has remained dedicated to empowering the youth in places like Somalia. Since January 2014, where we've invested over $7 million in job training and placement across for over 7,000 Somali young men and women. So today, as we reflect on where we go and how we continue to support these entrepreneurs, there are a few things that we want to double down on, right? So we've talked about these great tools that we have, this dynamic combination of our capital, our technical assistance, and convening power. And what we want to do is to continue to use them in a much more cohesive and consistent way. And I believe that we can bring about a transformational change and propel ADF even further. And how do we do this? What we want to do is to evolve the use of our capital so that pre-stage enterprise at 10,000 that is receiving a grant at 10,000 is also receiving technical assistance that is specifically matched to their needs, while also recognizing that the later stage enterprise that is receiving, let's say, 150,000 has very, very different technical assistance needs, and that perhaps some of that grant capital, like I was saying before, if used to support productive assets, can partially be recovered, right? And then secondly, we would like to move towards becoming more strategic around how we make connections. First, within our grantee cohort class, but secondly, and externally with the private sector actors and their supply chains, as we think very strategically about what a graduation model would look like. Because that's something, again, going back to this idea of what happens beyond USADF is something that's really, really important to us. And that's really sort of where we are going, and we're taking the portfolio sort of its inception from YALI to the entrepreneurship portfolio and sort of beyond.
You've mentioned something, and I'd like to just go directly to Ahmed. Ahmed, this seems to be a very keen interest in your country. Kwasi has mentioned, the investment they made in Somalia. Jeffrey mentioned earlier the investment and they made in Somalia. You earlier mentioned that you got the opportunity to design the project together with the USADF. First of all, how does it make you feel that there's interest, or how does it make you feel to see this interest in Somalia?
Well, George, I don't want to take credit for designing it. That was my boss, my elder, Ahmed Isa. So we shared the same name. I mean, I don't blame you, but just to put it out there, I don't want him to call me and be like, "Hey, Ahmed, that was me." But right.
He's too humble to even admit it.
Yeah. Well, so to be frank, I mean, if there's a place that really needs attention in terms of job creation, it is definitely my country. I mean, there's a lot of focus on post-conflict reconstruction and infrastructure building, and that's something that definitely is a priority for a lot of, say, interests, those who donor countries and all that. But the fact is that 70% of the population are youth. I mean, there's no official figures for employment, but I would assume it's more than 30-40% right now, 100%. And if we don't have something for them at this moment in time, I mean, where are we going to go ahead? There's a reason why Somalia is being brought up again and again in terms of this program. And I think they're justified in doing that because, like I said before, there's a lot of NGOs that are involved, but they're mostly aid. They provide aid, but nobody's really looking at providing sustainable solutions to employment for the youth in Somaliland. Now, how does that happen to be? Here's the thing. A lot of young people look for opportunities, right? And there's not a lot of institutions that cater to those youth. Now, IPRT, when we worked with USADF, we immediately said, I mean, it's in our name, we are called Institute for Practical Research and Training, but we do a lot of work beyond that scope. But still, when we talked to USAID, we were like, we really need to figure out a program on how we can ensure that these young people who are growing up will find a job. Now, there's a lot of challenges, like I already mentioned before, and those challenges are, where will we get the employers or the businesses for them to start up, right? There is a component which is pure entrepreneurship. We do give them cash. We do make sure that they take that cash and start up small businesses. And there is this other aspect where they're trained and then they're fitted with the right employers. Both of them have its separate challenges. The one with the employers, like I said, has to be the right fit if we find them to start with. And that's where IPRT focuses a lot upon, like finding the companies that would take on these young people. But I do want to talk about the cash for startup. Well, a lot of, for example, I'll give you an example of what we did. Now, in the last 6 months, there was this thing called COVID-19, right? That happened somehow. Now, what we did was we had an aspect of a program that was specially to train community health workers. Now, basically what that meant was we wanted to try and train young women and make them go into their districts and become midwives / like clinic workers, right? So if there's problems that you can't access a hospital with, hopefully there's somebody there in that district that can help you out. Now, when COVID-19 happened, we had a communication ongoing with USADF. Dr. Ahmed Isa again was instrumental. He decided maybe we should try and use this as an opportunity to make sure that the hospitals in Somaliland would have critical care nurses, somebody who was trained to actually treat COVID-19 patients. And that was such an amazing thing, because what happened was right as it hit in March and April, and we were supposed to train these midwives, we switched 49 young women and we trained them on how to become basically ICU nurses, right? Now, in terms of hospitals, Somaliland just has 2 that were dedicated to treating COVID-19. Actually 1, but the main hospital also was converted once it became known how serious the issue was. Who was staffing those 2 departments? All of them were USADF trainees. Every single person who was in that particular department working with ill patients with COVID-19, they were all our trainees. Now, that shows how dynamic USAID was in terms of understanding what our needs were at that time. But also, we were there. If we weren't there, I would be honest with you, I wouldn't know where would we go. Who would be treating those patients? The government wasn't there at that moment. They did get involved later on, but that was when they saw how successful we were. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of our success in mitigating the spread of coronavirus is down to USAIDF's involvement. And you wouldn't think that. USAIDF is not a healthcare organization looking to prevent like the spread of coronavirus. I'm sure you won't see that in the mandate. But the impact of their involvement of training young women and men was that we were able to switch and say, you know what, this is a skill set that is currently needed. We will have places for them to be linked with. And eventually what happened, all 49 were taken on by the government and now are salaried employees of the government of Somaliland, because they are the only people who are qualified to treat patients as the situation goes on. So if there's an interest that should ever be justified with USAIDF being involved in Somaliland, that's the one. I mean, that shows you how important they were here.
And this dynamism you're talking about, Kwasi, this dynamism is reflected also in the areas that USAIDF funds. You are in energy, renewable energy, you're in agriculture, you are in women and youth. Why is that? Why are you not just focusing on one area? And what informs the different approach and the different sectors that you invest in?
Well, I think that, the way that USADF, you talk about our toolkit, right? And the USADF was established by Congress to provide seed capital and local management assistance to address some of Africa's biggest challenges around food insecurity, insufficient energy access, and unemployment, right? And like we have talked about, we do this by harnessing the dynamism of USAID's unique approach to investing in community-driven development across Africa through this combination of capital, TA, and convening power. And this is sort of what has led us to this point. And so what you also realize is that in many cases, our grantees are entrepreneurs who may also be smallholder farmers with energy needs. I mean, that's really what it is, right? So our goal is really to put these entrepreneurs on a path to prosperity by connecting them to grant capital that is customized with technical assistance and targeted at their own project constraints for growth and success, right? And so this is really fundamental to sort of the ethos of how we work, right? And so as we think through that and think about this entrepreneur who is a smallholder farmer who has energy needs, we're also in the process of revisiting sort of our strategic posture around what happens with this entrepreneur beyond our support, right? And this is something that we interrogated quite a bit during our inaugural Fund Africa Summit, which offered an opportunity to unpack a few critical topics to help frame this, right? So around financing, right? We discussed how our grantees who sort of fall in this bucket could deepen their knowledge of innovative grant capital in early stage financing while providing them a platform to explore how USADF supported enterprises can connect with others, right? We talked about how entrepreneurship sometimes can be a lonely business. And we talked about how they then utilize this capital, because we also talk about the marginal utility of how capital, when not matched and right sized with appropriate technical assistance, does not lead to entrepreneurial success, right? And this is especially true today as the COVID pandemic has crystallized its need as never before. Just as what Ahmed was talking about, and then sort of networking and providing them all with this platform to give them this platform where they can engage as a community. But ultimately, it's really about just making sure that it addresses our need, our portfolio really matches the challenges that Africa is facing around food insecurity and energy and unemployment. And again, going back to this idea of the youth bulge and why we've been working with some of these governments as part of these strategic partnerships, there's sort of a win-win, if you like, that we are very interested in exploring as far as that nexus is concerned.
And I think this win-win has been reflected in, how Nazreen and Wesley are operating their enterprises. But let me go to you, Wesley. We are living in unprecedented times. COVID-19 brought the whole world to a standstill. How have the skills that you learned through USADF's training, exposure, and the lessons that you got, how has it helped you adapt during these very uncertain times?
Yeah, so I think one thing that came out clearly was the being a little bit fluid, so that you can adjust to the kind of changing times. So I think this thing was people would hear it. I mean, so many times, being entrepreneurs just being told to be flexible with the changing times. But with COVID, there was just no other way. You had to deal with it. Either you switch how you operate, or you're out of business in a minute. There are several companies that were really affected, and some industries as well. So the financial sector is one of the industries that were really affected. We provide financing to micro entrepreneurs, and these are people who, when COVID hit real hard, the markets were closed, there was quarantine, people were in their homes. So in essence, a loan is supposed to be paid over time. They are not able to pay these loans. So it means like everything has come to a standstill for your entire portfolio. So what happens? So that's where, I mean, now we had to like sit down as a team and look at how we're going to go through this. Number one, we had to look at our customers and really show that we really cared about them. So we switched it up so that with the messages that we were sending, we were able to, first of all, get the information from WHO and the health ministry, and send it to our customers, just to show them that we really care about them, and tell them it's very important that they are healthy. Their health is number one before anything else. So in essence, we forgot about the loans that are out there that are due. And number two, we now started like breaking it down into the business types. There are some who are in essential businesses, and there are some that were not. Some who are not. So the ones who are in business, or the ones who actually were affected more, we had to restructure those loans and tell them, like, let's get a grace period, that you guys can set yourself up again because of this impact, and then you'll bounce back, of course. And number three, the other thing that we kind of looked at is the customers. I mean, our staff, the employees. There are so many companies that did not manage to keep all their employees. But I'm proud to say, like, for us, we had a town hall, we had a conversation, and all our staff members agreed to kind of just lower some of the salaries. We have 22 employees right now, and we had a conversation. Let's lower the salaries a bit for now, the way things are right now, and they all knew how the portfolio is performing. And we came together. Actually, it made that even tighter as a team, and we went through this together. So I think COVID-19 was one thing that kind of tested the ability to kind of just innovate and kind of just be flexible to the changing times. And I'm really proud that we went through some of the right trainings during my time in Wisconsin, which was funded by USADF, on entrepreneurship, the training on entrepreneurship, and how entrepreneurs must always be flexible. You don't see things coming in, but when they come, you kind of be flexible and see how you navigate through. So I think being flexible was one of the important things that I learned that really came into play during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Nasreen, did you also need to be flexible to ensure that your portfolio was solid, or was there another trick from the book that you used to ensure that your business stays afloat during the COVID-19 pandemic?
There's definitely a couple of things that I did adapt from, the learnings from USADF previous trainings and conferences, but definitely for me, flexibility was right at the top as well. And I mean, when you look at AfriCup, our initial focus was on luxury handmade products, which were definitely not going to sell during the COVID-19 period. And thanks to some connections that I'd made through our previous conferences in Senegal with other entrepreneurs who were creating products like reusable sanitary towels and stuff, we quickly were able to shift from creating like leather bags and the luxury wood carvings to now creating products like PPEs, face masks, gloves, and reusable sanitary towels. So if I didn't have the relationship that I developed with previous entrepreneurs, it would definitely take me quite a while to pilot those new products. And I don't think I would be able to benefit from the opportunity that COVID presented. And so that was definitely one. And secondly, also the issue of the digital literacy and how we've, I think USADF has done a great job in encouraging us to communicate, to work remotely regardless of where we are. And this is both in terms of the partnerships we build with, other investors, with other partners. I mean, when I look at them connecting us with mentors in the United States, and we have to have weekly or monthly interactions with them, this is all done through Zoom and Skype and things like that. So when COVID started, we quickly shifted our ways of working to that as well. And fortunately, we'd already started training our women on digital literacy as well, as much as Zoom was pretty new for them. But there's that issue of, okay, how do we sample the products? I don't have to go all the way to the market to see the samples that you've created, or have you send them to me, considering there's a lot of, government mandated closures and cessation of movement, even within different counties. So we were able to continue, seeing what they're making, make those adjustments online. And by the time we had the final products, those hardly, they had actually met the standards that were required. So also that helped us in maintaining our relationship both with our customers and with our beneficiaries, and enabled us to continue finding markets for their products, as much as the products that we now were supplying were completely different from what we had previously. But we were able to quickly communicate with our customers and say, okay, this is what we have currently. We'll still have the previous products that we have, but we know this is what's in demand right now, and we're able to deliver this. And that was also possible because of the relationships we already had developed with our shipping partners, for example, like DHL, who are exporting our products globally. So that was just really a continuation of what we'd started before.
Great. My producer is telling me my time is almost over, and we need to do a parting shot. But I have a question that I cannot leave without asking. It's from Facebook, and I'll direct this to you, Jeffrey. Eradion Felix is saying, I am happy being here. How can I get a grant? I'm a software developer.
Well, where does he live?
I think he will answer where he lives, but what's usually the process? If he's in East Africa, where does he go to? If he's in West Africa, where does he go to? How does he get help to develop his idea and his business?
Sure. So the first thing to always check is our website. We always have open opportunities there, and that will be the most up-to-date requests for applications and proposals. And then within our website, embedded in there, if there's a country that if he's living in a country where we have an implementing partner and an actual program, there should be contact information there that he can reach out to learn more about opportunities.
All right, great. Gentlemen and lady, to wrap this up as you give your parting shot, how do we move forward from where we are? It's 2020, 10 years from now. How do we make sure that, one, the businesses that have been funded, Kwasi, Jeffrey, the businesses that have been funded today, 10 years from now are still sustainable? And for the businesses that have been funded, Wesley, Nazreen, how do you make sure that the skills you get now will sustain you for posterity and make sure that your businesses will stand the test of time? And Ahmed, how do we make sure from your end that the skills and placements and training is effective in empowering businesses. So I'll start with you, Kwasi, as we go to Ahmed, Geoffrey, and then we finish with Nazreen and Wesley.
So, perhaps how I'll start this is to say, what USADF's goal is, which is essentially, when it comes to this space, really is to build a Pan-African ecosystem for the development of African-led enterprises using market-based solutions to solve, the continent's biggest challenges that I've talked about. And the mission really then becomes the idea that, we've talked about entrepreneurship being an approach for development, but to be a self-sustaining approach to increasing incomes and overcoming inequalities, which require the development of a complete ecosystem, right? This ecosystem also requires various stakeholders and a broad offering of tools and resources that entrepreneurs can use to grow together. And really the strategy is just built around, how we deploy the dynamic combination of those three tools that we talked about around capital, TA, and the convening. But what it also means is that, you want to be able to take the entrepreneurs through a number of stages, right? So maybe 4 or 5 stages. So you're starting with ideation, being able to identify new and innovative ideas, whether it's, through the website or through some of these closed pools like Yali and AWE that we've talked about. And then sort of moving into incubation and being able to provide grants of whether it's $10,000 for proof of concept or pilot phase ventures and so on and so forth. But then taking that idea and think of it in terms of a conveyor belt to acceleration. Once this proof of concept has been proven, what additional capital can we take to implement that model? And I think Jeff has talked to that. And where we also want to then take this is this idea of scaling up. These exceptional entrepreneurs who are then awarded seed stage funding up to, let's say, 100K to scale up that venture. And when we talk about financing, and this is when we start introducing ideas around recoverability and saying that if you're using some of this for productive use, some of that can potentially come back because you're having the ventures then eligible to receive a loan at 0%, which is one of the a project that we just launched with the ESP last week. And there's an idea around what a recoverable zero interest recoverable loan looks like. But all of this is to position our grantees as part of an investor pipeline, being able to provide an introduction to relevant angel investors, to VCs for potential investment opportunities post USADF. And that's really how we're thinking about this and sort of what the aspiration and the vision for the portfolio is, especially when it comes to the entrepreneurship, how we're going to be supportive of these lonely African entrepreneurs across the continent.
Thank you. Geoffrey?
Yeah, I won't take too much time. I'll just add on slightly and sort of re-emphasize what Kwesi was saying, and that, when USADF works with an entrepreneur or a business, it's not just a one-off, hey, we've given you this funding, now go on into the world and, flap your wings and fly. We're always available for, anybody to reach out, to follow back up, to ask about other opportunities. It's really up to us to make sure that we continue to expand our toolkit, as Kwesi is saying, that we continue to make connections with other entities out there, whether it's a venture capitalist, an angel investor, or even favorable loans from banks, or buyers. It's up to us to continue to find these people and entities that want to continue to invest and want opportunities, on the continent. And so then we need to just make sure we have all of these available, and we say, oh, you know what, Amazon reached out to USADF and asked how they can, get involved in some of the Yali entrepreneurs. Well, we know Nazarene, and so we'd say, hey, Nazarene and Amazon, as a hypothetical, you two can connect and link. And so it's just really up to us to make sure that we're always open to opportunities and that we're continuously exploring and shopping what we do best and what we're able to help entities produce and provide, and so that we can link everybody up one day down the road.
Great. Ahmed?
Yeah, I mean, from my point of view, I think it's more towards anticipation. Like, how would we identify skills that would be important going forward? I think the best way you listen to employers like Nasreen and Wesley, because what we find is you cannot create a skill set out of a vacuum, right? You have to listen to the people who have businesses and see what skills or what qualifications they're really looking at. That is the easiest and the best way you can predict, okay, what sectors are going to grow in the next 5 years. So for example, past 5-7 years, we would be focused more on manual labor, skills like carpentry, masonry, all of those stuff. But now, maybe it's in another direction. Maybe it's indigenous technology, maybe it's solar, healthcare because of COVID. So you really have to have your ear on the ground, like I would say, and listen to what entrepreneurs are actually doing out there, and then take their information and hopefully be able to get the right people to train.
Wesley.
Yeah. So one thing that I think is going to guide us as we move forward, and also the same thing that has got us here from when we started, was just being crazy about our customers, just listening to them. What do they want? And our products customer centric. Do we put them at the center and surround them with the right tools that can make them succeed? Cherehani means sewing machine in Swahili. It tells you where we began. We began with tailors. We began with sewing machines. Right now, the tailors are less than 10% of our customers. We've expanded to other business types. We've expanded to chemists. We've expanded to shopkeepers. We've expanded to all these other business women doing all the other businesses. So it means, like, when you listen to the customers and build products that they really want and are providing solutions to them, they kind of guide you to the next stage of your growth as an entrepreneur. Right now, where we are at Cherehani, we've realized that majority of our customers who are in the rural areas, these are women micro entrepreneurs, they go to the farm first and get to the market by 11. In essence, all of them are farmers. So they're just smallholder farmers. They go to the farm first and then they come to the market in the evening. So you have to kind of start looking at them as farmers, because this is something that is very important to them. So our question is, within our product line, are we providing some of the solutions that are speaking to people who care about farming as well? Do we share information about the rains? Do we share information about where to source, like the right seeds and stuff like that? Do we collaborate with the people who work with farmers closely? Then in such a way, we find that we become very tight with our customers, and we provide the right solution for them. And as a parting shot, I think my advice to other entrepreneurs around Africa, especially the youth, you'll find some of the partners like USADF, but that is not all of it. You have to at least go back and source all the support that you may need from friends, from family, and all the other partners. When we started with USADF, we were a small company and we were growing. I would say we are still young and nimble, growing. But when we started USADF, just a few sewing machines. But with 13,000 customers, you can't fund that with grants. You can't give loans with grants to 13,000 customers. It means, as an entrepreneur, you must be ready to grow and pass the stage of grants, where if you get a grant, it kind of just helps you to test a new product within your product line and stuff. So you must ask yourself some other questions like, how am I going to be sustainable in the future, past this grant, past the family support, past these other things that kind of support me? And it will bring you way back to your customer. Build products that customers want and provide solutions to them. Thank you.
That's very fitting. And finally, Nasreen.
Great. I mean, like Wesley said, when I look back at what really got us to where we are today, it was, just asking for help and not pretending that you can do it all on your own. I mean, regardless of your qualifications or experience, it's so important to talk to other people who are doing similar stuff or who have done similar stuff and just really understand their point of view. There's always a thing or two to learn. So I always tell people, have a beginner's but a winner's mindset. Just learn from the people that you admire. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And when I talk about asking questions, it also involves asking, for example, in our case, our artisans. I think we've learned so much from them. I mean, just looking at things from their own perspective and just understanding whether our products are actually making the impact that we assume they are. So it's just really important to keep the conversations going on both ends, from customers, from with beneficiaries and all. And very important, it's important to understand why you're doing what you're doing, why you're running that business, what are your values, and what's the end goal, what do you want to achieve. And when I look at Afrikapu and Cherehani, it's really to empower women and provide opportunities for vulnerable communities. So even in a situation where, for example, now COVID had just come up, we were not expecting that, we're able to adjust and shift quickly, but stick to our end goal. So I think before even starting a business, it's important for people to understand why they're starting that business and look much deeper than, okay, I just want to create a profitable business or build an empire. What's that legacy that you want to leave behind?
Yeah, important to ask yourself why you're starting a business and what do you want the business to, the result of the business to be. Listening to customers, making sure that customer feedback is incorporated in your overall strategy. Thank you very much, lady and gentlemen, for joining us on today's watch party and for your insightful contributions to this discussion. Next week, we are discussing enterprises in clean energy. That is same time, same place here on the Yebo Watch Party. But for today, I'd like to say a huge thank you to Kwasi Donkor, to Ahmed Bashe, to Jeffrey Gilio, to Nasreen Ali, and Wesley Owiti. I would also like to say a huge thank you to my producer, Eustace Segete, to my director, Jeffrey Kimite, to our technical director, Brandon Jonge, and the entire A24 Media Digital team, and the USADF digital team. See you here next week, same time, same place. For now, stay safe and see you soon.
Alexander Solar, basically started as a response to the challenges that we faced in the solar industry, because I started out as a technician installing solar systems. So along my work, I started finding out that we're having quality issues with most of the components coming in from Asia.
Ever since we started a relationship with them, we found them a reliable organization. They are very committed, so we have a great trust in them. In Nigeria, power supply is very erratic, and they have come to close the gap. Especially our business, we depend so much on power generation. We can't do without power. So that is why our relationship with them has been so helpful. For 24/7, we are always on light.
It is estimated that 90% of the DRC population does not have access to electricity. So far, we have been able to sell more than 190,000 solar products, and we believe to have reached over 1 million households across the DRC.
Tunaanza sai, tutasoma ti mpaka tukacha asubuhi tukajisikia kila kitu iko tayari kwa mteki.
When it comes to solar, the solar home systems are more advanced. So you can write up 4 rooms, meaning that people can undertake different activities in different rooms. You don't all have to congregate around the ramp in order to carry out your evening activities.
Manufaa ile nimepata ni kupunguka saa yote kukimbia kwa soko.
We have a vision not only to be a clean energy distributor, but also a solutions provider.